So Donald Trump's first international political trip of this term is to the Middle East. He's all about getting deals. Why go to the Middle East? What's he after?
Well, he's looking for investment in the U.S. economy primarily. In the run-up to this trip, Saudi Arabia said that it would invest $600 billion over the next 4 years, and the United Arab Emirates has committed $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years. He's also going to stop Qatar, which has a history of investing in the U.S. So really, he's looking to strike deals for Gulf countries that are rich in oil and gas wealth, to put some of that money into the U.S., sell things like weapons, technology, and other, to make investments into financial and infrastructure sectors in the U.S.
And what are the Middle Eastern countries after in return? Starting with Saudi Arabia, what can Donald Trump give Mohammed bin Salman on the nuclear front?
Yeah, I think that the Gulf countries are, above all, looking for a warm embrace from the U.S. president. They had a pretty good relationship with him in his first term. Relationships with the U.S., especially for Saudi Arabia, deteriorated a bit under President Biden, and so they're looking for a commitment for a solid, stable relationship, and for U.S. buy-in for stability in the U.S. In Saudi Arabia, they're also looking forward to build their whole economy. Part of that is civilian nuclear technology, and we're expecting an MOU on that. It won't be a final deal, but it will be a step towards the U.S. and Saudi working together on building civilian nuclear technology and production in Saudi Arabia.
But are there other countries nervous about that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a whole fear of, the Saudi Crown Prince said years ago that if Iran got a nuclear weapon, Saudi would go for a nuclear weapon. His officials have since walked some of that language back a bit, but there is obviously a concern that if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, it could set off an arms race, a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, and having a civilian nuclear program puts Saudi that much closer to developing an offensive capability.
Okay, now to the United Arab Emirates. Is it keen on better access to AI developments in the US?
That's right. So at the end of Biden administration, Saudi and the UAE were excluded from an export control mechanism that they're looking to get pulled into so that they can get more access to U.S. technology. And the U.S. is also looking for these countries to make investments in AI and chips and advanced technologies in the U.S. To build a partnership where the U.S. continues to develop and stay ahead of China in that race, and they also then are able to benefit from that to get some of the chips needed to build their own AI industries back home.
But there's nervousness within some quarters about allowing that AI access to go ahead?
There's fear that the countries in the Gulf, while they say they are close U.S. allies and partners, and they have been for many years, that they're diversifying their relationships and that their growing relationships with China potentially pose a threat to that U.S. technology.
And Qatar has notoriously offered this palace in the sky, a super luxury Boeing 747 to Donald Trump, or to the US. What will a plane get the Qataris?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big splashy gift, it looks like. The details haven't been finalized, but it looks like that could go through pending legal review. The other notable thing that the Qataris bring to this is that they've helped negotiate the release of the last living U.S. hostage held in Gaza, who was released last night. And so that sort of secures and reinforces what they see as their value to the U.S. as helping to negotiate and being able to spend their wealth on investing in the U.S. And in some cases in projects that benefit people around the president, and also diplomatically, geopolitically, getting things done. They play a big mediating role in the region, and so this just sort of reinforces that message.
And are they particularly keen on getting the Syrian regime some breaks?
Yeah, Qatar has of course been close to the new authorities in Damascus. And Saudi Arabia has also been in conversation with the new president there. Donald Trump said yesterday, before leaving the White House, that he was considering lifting sanctions on Syria. Many of the Gulf countries have been pushing for that to give Syria a chance to rebuild its economy after more than a decade of civil war ended last year.
And just finally, because I know you're a busy man, is anything substantial likely to happen with the Gaza war while Donald Trump is in the region?
I think there are talks ongoing, mediated by Qatar and Egypt. There is, the release of this hostage last night was a good sign, but these talks have been going on for months and are very complicated. So I'm sure he would love to be able to announce that he's gotten a deal to release the hostages and end the war in Gaza finally. It really, I think, will depend a lot on the details of those talks, which are happening sort of in parallel with his visit.